Hey everybody, I'm going to go through a quick tutorial about how to make an app in PowerApps. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make like a very simple student support app. So I have a test site that I've made on SharePoint, and I'm going to first create my two databases. One is going to be a students of concern list, and the other one is going to be a support log list. So I'm going to go over to site contents. I will say new and list. I'm just going to use a blank list. And I'm going to title that list. I'm going to call it Students of Concern. Notice that I didn't put any spaces in it. That's really important for whenever you're messing around with PowerApps. You don't have to account for the spaces. I'm going to choose not to show in site navigation. And there's my list. And then I'm going to create another list. So I'm going to go back to site contents. And I'm going to say new list. And again, a blank list. And I'm going to call this concern logs. You can call it whatever you like though. So then I'll choose create. And I'm going to go back to site contents. And you can see now that I have two lists. One is students of concern and one is concern logs. I'm going to come into students of concern and I'm going to add a column. And I'm just going to make it a text column. And then I will call this first name. And we'll keep it a single line of text. And then I'm going to do another one. And I'm going to call this last name. And again, we'll just keep it a single line of text. You can add an enormous amount of columns to this list, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to say title, which will be my student ID, and I'm going to say first name, last name. I guess I can go in and I can put something like choice column that would say status, and then we'll call this, let's say IEP intervention in case we can't get an IEP, but we're still trying to do intervention, and we'll do LEP for limited English proficiency. So I have three choices there, right? Okay, I'm going to go back to site contents. And I'm going to choose concern logs, and I'm going to keep title, which will be my student ID. I don't need student name or anything here, but what I will do is I will put a description. And then I'll do something like a choice, and we'll say meeting length. And I'll say 10 minutes. 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and 1 hour. Okay, so now I have my two lists. I have my students of concern list and I have my concern logs. Now I'm going to come over into PowerApps and I will choose create and we'll say blank app. I'm going to choose a blank canvas app and we're going to say that it's a tablet format. I'm going to call this test concern app. All right, we'll go create. All right, so I have my blank canvas app here. You'll see screen 1 on the left. And what I'm going to do is I'll just add a little bit of branding. So I'll come up here. I've added a rectangle. I'll put that like that. And then I'll go ahead and add a text label. And I will move my text label here. Drag it over a little bit. And in the top here in text, in quotes, we will put students of concern. And then I'll go ahead and make this maybe size 20. We'll do semi-bold and we'll make it white. Pretty simple. Let's make it a little bit bigger. Let's go with 25. There we go. If you want to, you can put your school logo over here. I'm not going to do that though. We'll just leave it as students of concern. It's just a generic application. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to add and we're going to do a vertical gallery. And you can see that it automatically adds a gallery with sort of everything that I need. I'm going to drag it down here just like this. And I'll move it over to the left a little bit because I don't need this much space. I'm going to delete the picture because I'm not going to use pictures for this. And I will go to my tree view and yep, should be good. Why are you giving me an error though? Something for the image. So we'll just delete the title, we'll delete the subtitle. We'll delete the next arrow too. We don't need any of those things. All right, so it's asking me for items and it says custom gallery samples. So this green usually indicates that it's a database, but I need a database because I haven't added anything yet. So I'm going to go over here to my databases or my data sources. I'm going to choose add data. I'll search SharePoint. And I'll come down here and choose the green SharePoint icon. I'll go ahead and choose SharePoint. And then I am looking for my test site that I forgot what it was, but that's okay. I'll come over here and I will just copy the site address. I'll drop the address in there and choose connect. And when I connect to the site, you can see I have concern logs and students of concern. So I'm just going to click OK and connect. So now I have access to both of those databases. And up here, I want this to be my students of concern. So under items, under, should say data source or source. It's odd that it's not over here. I guess that's strange. But what we'll do is we can just do, let's see, students of concern. So we'll just do that. So again, like that's our data. That's it. But we don't have anything in there. So let's go over here. And just to show you what that looks like, I'll go to my students of concern and I will type in number 1 for the student ID. And we'll call this Mike Smith. And we'll say that his status is IEP, save. So now I have one student of concern. So if I come over here back to PowerApps and I refresh my students of concern, it has added him here. But in order to see that, I need to insert a text label. So I'm going to click in my little box. So this is my whole gallery, but this is my main gallery element. And I'm going to choose text label. And you can see that it automatically adds this item.title. And then what I'll do here is I will add this item.firstname. There we go. And I'll go over here and add this item.last name. You could also do something like this. Like I can put it over here and I could say this item.firstname and space, and open quotes, space quotes, and then it'll just combine those two items. So I could do that too. So if I'm going to do that, I will delete these and we'll just have student ID and Mike Smith. And then I will go ahead and add one more thing. And let's say we call it this item, what was it called? So if you type this item dot, it will show you a list. And I don't remember what we called it. I think it was status. So I can just scroll down and find status. There we go. So I have this item.status. Notice that it gives me an error. That's because it's a choice. So when it is a choice, I need to say value. So this item.status.value. So now I can see that it is an IEP. I can click bold because we want to make that a little more prominent. And so that's it. So now I have my gallery with all of my students. Now I need an easier way to add students. So I'm going to include an edit form. Let me just make sure that's correct. Yep, edit form. And I'm going to connect to data. And we're going to connect to students of concern. All right, we can do that over here, I guess. Students of concern. All right, and then it's going to say, what do you want to choose? And then it kind of automatically chooses that for me. So I'm going to do this as single columns. So now I have title, first name, last name, status, and attachments. So I can add any of these things to my students of concern. And I am going to, let me come back to my tree view, choose form. I'm going to move it over here just a little bit. There we go. And I'm going to add an icon. And let's say we'll go with a check. We'll bring our check over here. And then I'm going to go with a cancel. And we'll put, oh, it replaced it. Okay, that's okay. We'll go with insert. Let me unclick that. Insert, and I'm going to go back to icon. And we'll go with a check. There it is. Okay, so now I have my check and my cancel. Good. And what is our form called? So you can see it's just called form 1, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to rename that to submit SOC. So we'll just call that submit SOC. And then here, I'm going to do default mode is new for this form. So that means it's going to be a new record that we are going to be submitting. And then I'm going to say submit form, and this is called submit SOC. So that means when I click this button, it will submit this form to the database. And then I am going to shift select all of these. So I've shift selected each of these. I'm going to right click and choose group. And then I'm going to say, I'm just going to call this new SOC form. So new student of concern form. And then up here, I'm going to go to visible, and I'm going to call this viz new SOC. So now that's just creating a variable that I will change. So whenever this is true, it will be visible. Whenever it's false, it will not be visible. And I'm going to go over to my check icon, and I'm going to go to on select. It's going to submit form, submit SOC. And then I'm going to add something else that I want it to do by adding a semicolon. And I'm going to say set viz, what do we call it? Viz SOC form. Is that what we called it? Let's see. Viz new SOC. Okay. So we'll go back, viz new SOC. And we'll go back to on select, and it is viz new SOC false. So when we submit, we want to make it false. And the same is true for our check icon or our cancel icon. So I'm going to go to on select. Oops. I'm going to go to on select, and we're going to set new viz new SOC false as well. So over here, when I select one of these, so well, let's not do that. Let's say icon add. So I'm going to add a plus icon over here. We're going to change the color to white. All right. And then here I'm going to say on select new form. Submit SOC. Good. And then I'm going to click, I'm going to select semicolon because I want to add something else. And I'm going to set viz new SOC true. There we go. All right, so let's test this out. I'm going to click play. So I have my guy over here. I have my plus over here. So if I click this, I now have my input form. And I'm going to call this 2, and we're going to call her Sarah Lee. Our status is LEP, and I'm not going to attach anything right now. And I'll click check. My form should disappear, and there's Sarah Lee. Awesome. Cool. All right. So now what I want to do is I want to insert another gallery. We're going to do a vertical gallery again. and we're just going to put that like so. I am going to delete the image, delete the title, just get rid of all this stuff because we don't need it. And I'm going to call this concern logs. Okay. Yep, so we've connected it to concern logs, and I am going to add some items here. So I want to add a text label, and we will call this, this item dot, and let's see what we have. Forgot what we put. Let's go back to site contents and students of concern. Oops, not that one. Site contents and concern logs. Okay, we got description and meeting length. Perfect. So let's go back to PowerApps, and I'm going to say this item dot meeting length for this one. So that way we know, okay, doesn't like that. Let's see, this item dot meeting length. Oh, right, it's a choice dot value. There we go. All right, so we have our value, and then I'm going to copy paste this, and I'm going to make it like really big because we're going to say this item dot description. There we go. All right, cool. So now I have this gallery, and then my items are going to be, we're going to do a lookup on this. So it's going to be lookup concern logs title equals, let me see what this is called. Gallery 1, we're going to call this SOC gallery. And gallery 2, we're going to call this log gallery. So we're going to say that our items are lookup concern logs. The title in concern logs is equal to our SOC gallery dot selected dot title, and that should work. There we go. Cool. So what it does is it's going to look up the concern logs database, and it's going to find the title, and it's going to say, okay, well, we want to see all of the titles of the SOC gallery dot selected dot title. And actually, that's wrong. We're going to go with filter. And we're going to say sort by columns, filter, and then we're going to say we're going to sort this by created. So that's the date that it was created. And we're going to say descending because we want to see all the newest logs first. Perfect. All right. So now we need to create a log. So let me go to insert. Let's go with an icon. And let's find a nifty icon to add our logs. There should be like a little comment box or something. Let's see. Where are you? Oh, message. Here we go. All right. So we're going to drop message over here. And we are going to make it white. Very good. And we're going to add a new form, edit form. And let's say that we make the background gray. There we go. We're going to connect it to data, and we want to connect it to the concern logs. And you'll see it's automatically giving me everything that I need. And I've done one column. Very good. But for title here, I am going to change that. I'm going to go to advanced. I'm going to unlock that. And I'm going to say that the default is SOC gallery dot selected dot title. So you can see that I've selected this guy, right? And if I select, say, Sarah Lee, it'll automatically change to 2. So whichever item I've selected, it will just automatically change that so that when I create a log, it's creating the log for the correct person. I could even come in here and let's go to template fill, and I'm going to say, let's see if, We'll skip that. Actually, I'm not going to do that. Okay, seems good here. Let me go back to form 2. I'm going to call this create log form. We'll go ahead and add a border, just a simple border, so that it stands out from what's going on back there. And then I'm going to add in an icon so that we could submit this. And we're going to call this a check badge. There we go. And then we'll add a cancel badge. Oops, did the same thing we did earlier. Let me click off of that and insert. Let's go back to check. Cool. Very good. And what is our form called? Let's go back to our form, create log form. Okay, so on select, we are going to submit form, create log form, and we are going to set viz new log false, and I'm going to group these. Let's group those. Group. Very good. New SOC log. And I'm going to go to visible. What do we call it? Viz new log. Very good. Cool. So then if I choose this, I need to say set viz new log true. There it is. And so if I click on this, there it is. There's my new log. And you can see that when I select it, my title is already there. But what I like to do is, like, let's say that we have this card, right? I'm just going to go to visible and set the card to false so that we don't make any mistakes. So that card is still there. It's just false because the visibility is false because you don't want to accidentally like change the ID, the student ID, while you're updating this information. So it's always going to be there. And if I'm clicking on this, it's still changing. So right now it's 1, for example. And then here, I'm just going to go back to on select, and then we're going to say set viz new log false. There we go. All right, very good. Cool. All right. So then I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to check this one more time. So on select, submit form, create log form, good. And set viz new log false, awesome. One more thing I forgot here. We need to do new form, create log form, so that way it's empty whenever we select it. Because if we don't, and we select that and it opens, it'll be pre-filled with the information that we had earlier. So we always want to do new form so that it creates a new form. It's a blank form. Cool. So I'm going to click play. Uh-oh. Let me see what's happening here. Sometimes this happens. Let's go to create log form. Default mode is edit. Oop, default mode is new. There we go. Let me try it one more time just in case. Very good. All right, cool. So description, I'm going to say met with teacher. Okay. Let's actually fix this mistake. This is a good moment to fix a mistake. So I'm going to go back to my site contents, and I have my concern logs and description. I'm going to go to column settings and edit. Notice that I kept this as a single line of text. It needs to be a multiple line of text. So now that I have multi-lines of text, and I might even come in and do more options and use enhanced rich text, which means that I can add like bullet points, tables, pictures, all that kinds of stuff. So I'm going to click yes and save. I'm going to come back to PowerApps, and under my concern logs, I'm going to refresh this. So I've just refreshed that data source, so now it's going to be updated. I'm going to go back here and notice that it hasn't been updated. That's because I need to click into create log form. I'm going to go to edit fields. I am going to remove description, and then I am going to add description and drag it to the top here. Notice that title is there, except it is hidden. And then here I'm going to go to edit rich text. Very good. So now I have my rich text. And I'm going to click here and drag this down a little bit. All right, perfect. So I'm going to, in here, I'm going to say, let's do some bullet points. Met with teacher, discussed action plan, will meet again in 2 weeks. Cool. Meeting length was 45 minutes, nothing attached, and click OK. There it is. And so you'll notice that this is kind of crazy. That is because it needs to be HTML text, not just text. So I am going to come over here and click Insert HTML text. So I have HTML text here. And then for that, we're going to do this item dot description. Boom. And now we have HTML text. Great. So that's it. So we put together an entire Students of Concern app in just about 15 minutes, I guess. But again, if I come over here and I click on click logs, I can add some information here and here. Meeting length is 10 minutes. Okay. And now I can see all of my logs for Mike Smith, all of my logs for Sarah Lee. I can add a new person. Notice that I made a mistake here. I'm going to go to Submit SOC. Let's make the background gray. And not only that, let's go here and put reorder bring to front. Now everything is behind it. And if I click play again, I could do student numbers 3. We could call it Gina. We can call the student Gina Ma. We'll go with status intervention. I can add attachments if I want, select, and there's Gina. If I click on Gina, she has no logs, but then I can come here and add a new log. Meeting length, 20 minutes, done. And one more thing that I can do, which I think is interesting, is if I select this and go here, I can do this item created by, and now I can see created by display name, and now I can see who created that. So then if I come back here, I can see all of the different logs. Let me add another log for Mike. This is an example. Meeting length 20 minutes, done. And so now that I can see that it's sorted descending, and I can just keep adding logs if I need to, and they will keep adding and descending as we go. So very simple student support app. Like I said, in just under 15 minutes, and that's just the power of PowerApps. And of course, you could bring all of this data into Power BI and track how many logs for how many students by how many teachers, and so on and so forth. Hope you enjoyed, and looking forward to working with all of you on this a bit further.